So when you first got started, what did those routes look like for the USPS? What were you doing?
They were box trucks. So, and we still have those same routes.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
20 years later, you still running the same exact routes?
We have the same routes, and they've grown or shortened or whatever the case may be. But, and I still have 3 of the original employees. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's a great thing, but okay.
Loyalty is
wow.
and then when we had one to retire, I'm like, I almost started crying. It's like, are you sure? I mean, you look healthy.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not. I'm tired of the post office.
Right.
But yeah, so they're like, with the post office, you have your plant to plant.
Mm-hmm.
So we take mail from a plant to another facility. And then from there, you have box trucks that grab the mail and they take them to the smaller post offices. So the mail comes from, if you're from North Carolina, it comes from Greensboro, North Carolina, and it goes to Boone, North Carolina. These are mountains like Morganton, Statesville. And then from there, North Wilkesboro, and Newton, I got to say L5. But,
yeah.
Those guys, our box truck drivers, pick them up and they start delivering to the smaller post offices.
And then the post offices take them out and then go house to house with them. Okay, got it. So the business seemed like it was pretty turnkey to a certain extent in the beginning. Like it's like you had to get the equipment, but in terms of like having the personnel and everything, that was all kind of already there for you, right? For the post office.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now I've got to say, being in business is never easy.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily a book that we read that say manage your business this way. Do you know what I mean? So we've made mistakes along the way. We've had bad decisions. But mostly, starting out young, you're very hungry. And when people say, well, how can I start a business and all this other stuff, I always say, it's really easy to start a business, but sustainability is where you really want to focus on. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the hard part. If you get a check from the post office for your mail route says $200,000, that's not $200,000 for Tamela. You know what I mean?
That's
Even
right.
though it's in my account or my business account, that doesn't mean I'll go write a check and go get myself a Lexus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, we've had to learn a lot of lessons along the way.
What does, you use the word sustainability, what does, you just gave an example, but what are some other examples of what sustainability means to you?
Just making sure you maintain good relationships with your customers, because you want to make sure that your customers know who you are, and they're going to continue to support you. And then the financials, right? You want to make sure that you pay yourself a salary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that leave my company and they want to be an owner operator, and I'm like, make sure if that route pays you $2,000 a day, for example, out of that $2,000 you need to carve yourself a salary out of that. So you're not paying your truck payment, your insurance payment, your car payment, and all of a sudden you don't know what's what, because people get confused with this idea of profit versus revenue. Do you know what I mean? You really want to make sure that you get a salary, establish your expenses, and reinvest some of your, revenue back, your profit back into your company so you can grow.
How do you know when it's time to do that? That's because for a lot of business owners, it's difficult to, take a salary because they feel like, they're just barely getting by with the business, with the revenue that they're generating, especially get like early in the business. How do you know when it's time to take a salary, and how do you decide what that amount should be?
That's an individual choice, right?
How did you do it?
I just made up a number in terms of what I thought my value is. Obviously, my lifestyle. Back then, I didn't need, when we first started, I didn't need a lot of money because I already did well in my current job.
Right.
So for the first few years, I didn't get paid anything. I paid out. Maybe I expense meals every now and then, but I didn't take any money because we were focused on growing the business.
Yeah.
But, you want, if people are looking at their salary, they should really look at their lifestyle. I mean, most people that are starting business, they already have a budget or a household that they're trying to maintain, and you just got to be a little bit conservative until you can start growing your business. So it's hard to really quantify what people should do because you just never know, where their expenses are. But I would never say you want to take more than half of what you make because the business has to be able to grow.
Yeah.
It has to have money. So when opportunity comes, you have money to go purchase equipment or a building or real estate or even give your employees bonuses or yourself just because you've earned it.
Yeah, for sure. When you guys kind of, pivoted into the USPS, into the post office, did you stop doing the other services that you were doing, or did you continue to do that?
That business continued to grow. We still do freight. We call that side freight, also courier. So in Charlotte, our corporate office in Charlotte, and that's what it's based on. We do a lot of same day, next day. We have a lot of direct customers that we still do business with. So that side of it continues to grow.
So that continued to grow. Okay, got you. So how did you grow within the post office? Talk about the growth there. You started with 8 trucks in 2000 and we said 4. Mm-hmm. So like year over year, kind of talk to me like the growth.
We had bidded on contracts, throughout, and there were contracts that we didn't get. And like I said, Donald joined the association. He got a feel of, meeting some of the contracting officers around, some of the other suppliers, and they kind of help you get your numbers right. So in 2013, we brought on, I would say, 13 more
units, trucks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we grew, and this is when we got into the Greensboro space. And so now instead of our employees just taking the mail, grabbing it and taking it out, we're now the company that brings it from Greensboro to the guys. So we just had a little bit of that going on as well.
Got it. So for you guys, you would first bid on the contract, and then if you're awarded the contract, you then get the equipment to fulfill the contract. Is that how it kind of works?
You make sure you can get to the equipment first. You
Right.
gotta say, okay, I'm looking at this. You've got to do the pricing and make sure it's available within the starting time. So it's kind of, you do all of it. You're pricing for the insurance, pricing for the vehicle, you look at the wages and things like that.
Yeah.
Because you can't just get a contract and go, oh my goodness, I need 15 trucks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to have an idea, of where you can get those 15 trucks, those trailers, and how soon you can get it, and that's how that works.
Got it. How competitive are the contracts? Are they difficult to win? Is it very competitive? Like, can you talk about that?
It can be. I mean, they do give you a debriefing.
What do you mean by a debriefing?
If you don't get it.
They tell you why?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll see, what the other people's bids are. I think it's based on a number of things, right? Just capability, your financial stability, because it might be easier to give a contract to a company that's larger, that's more financially stable, versus a smaller company that may not be as financially stable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is, there's a lot that goes into these guys, and that's, you've got the subjective part and you've got the objective part. To me, now this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
You've got, the objective part where they're looking to make sure you fulfill the criteria, but they've got to also get a good feel of whether or not you'll be successful.
It's a little bit of science involved too, right? Like they're kind of, like you said, it's data, and then it's like some science. Like, okay, well, we don't know if we'll see. Like, you got to kind of judge you based on whatever those things are.
That is my perception.
Yeah.
And I think most of us do that as well. I mean, when we hire people, it's just like having a great resume, but can they actually execute and be successful? Got it.
Tell me about, just from an operator standpoint, what are some of the things, like the KPIs that you guys have to hit, the different targets year over year to be successful?
We really focus on timeliness. We focus on, so like I said, we do have 2 lines of businesses, right? We have freight, and we also have the postal. Now, when we're looking at people that do freight and our employees, I mean, every week we measure how much money they're making for the business. Because you can get someone a salary, say if you're paying them $500 a week, and again, my numbers are very conservative just to keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, for sure.
We're paying them $500 a week, but they only generate $600 in revenue. I mean, $100, that's no good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to change up how that person gets paid. Maybe instead of paying them a salary, maybe they get paid by what they do. So we look at how much revenue a driver can bring. We look at timeliness. We look at fuel cost, because sometimes certain runs are not good to do. I mean, you can get a run that takes you out 300 miles, but there's nothing to come back. You come back empty, which they call it a deadhead run, empty miles. So that's just, you've just wasted your money, because, you know, you only got paid one way. Now you just about lost half of it coming back with nothing on the back.
Are you able to pick up backhauls at all when you're running for them, or how does that work?
Well, normally, no.
No, you're not
I mean, the
supposed
post
to.
office don't really want you to kind of integrate anything else. I mean, a lot of backhauls would be like empty equipment, and they'll give you an extra trip slip. But no, I mean, and we don't mix the postal trucks with other freight at all. We don't do that. So our freight trucks are dedicated to freight, and postal has, postal.